All right, now what we've so far done is figured out how much extra will be in your account. So if you put money into a bank and just let it kind of sit there, how much you're going to have extra after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however long. But what if we don't want to know what's extra? What if we just want to know how much do I have total in my account? What do I have total together? So let's say you have, before we come to this vocabulary, let's say you put $500 in, and you did all the calculation, you find out you're going to have an extra $100 after however long, whatever this scenario may be. How much would you have total in your account then? You put $500 in, an extra $1,000 in interest, or $100 in interest. Now you would have $600 total in your account. That is what balance is. Balance is the total, your principal amount that you start with, plus your interest. Okay? So balance is principal plus interest. We're going to write that. B equals principal plus interest. Now, follow along here, because right now we're getting into just a whole bunch of variables. So we want to remember these variables represent something. Balance is our principal, how much we start with, plus our interest. Now, on the page before, we said interest is actually principal times rate times time. I equals PRT. So what I can do is in place of this I here, I can put PRT. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to say balance is equal to principal plus principal times rate times time. Now, both of these formulas are saying exactly the same thing. Both of them are good, but I'm going to recommend you remember, and I will give these to you on a test or a quiz, but when you're doing your homework, this is the one you're going to refer to. Because often, as you'll see in the next problem, they'll give you the principal and the rate and maybe the balance or the time, but they're not going to say, this is your principal, this is your interest, add them together. It's not usually going to be that black and white. So if you go with this formula, you're going to be able to substitute in all the variables that you need to. Okay? One other quick note to mention, we here I'm going to be using B for balance just because it's easier to remember for our purposes right now. If you look in the book, or as you'll see down here, just to give you another reminder, they're going to use A whenever they're talking about balance. So we, just to help us keep it straight, because we already have so many variables being used, if you see balance, I want you to do B, okay? If you see an A, not to confuse you too much, if you see an A in the book, just think of that as balance, okay? Again, we have so many variables. It's easier for our purpose right now to remember that B is balance. It goes along. All right, example 2. You get a summer job at a bakery. Suppose you save $1,400 of your pay and deposit it into an account that earns simple annual interest. After 9 months, the balance is $1,421. Find the annual interest rate. Okay, they're giving us a lot of information here. One key word, though, that's going to stand out is this balance. So that's going to help me remember that I'm going to use this formula and not the one we did on the other page, because on the other page it was just I equals PRT, no place to put our balance. Okay, they want us to find the annual interest rate. So let's go to work. Our variables are B, P, R, and T. It says my balance is $1,421, so that's how much is in my account now. My principal, I suppose, it said suppose you save $1,400, so I had $1,400 that I put into an account. I deposited into an account. My rate, I don't know, because that's what we're trying to find. Find the annual interest rate. And my time is 9 months. So we said on the other side that we need to think of this in years. So 9 months is really 9 out of 12, which is 3/4. I'm going to write that as 0.75. Since we're using calculators, let's not include fractions. You can, but decimal is sometimes easier to type without having to worry about as many parentheses. So 1421, 1400, 0.75, we're ready to go. B equals P plus PRT. Neatness is very important here, very, very, very much. All right, let's substitute in. Balance is 1421. Principal is 1400, so I substitute that in for both P's. My rate, we don't know, so I'm going to keep that R. And my time is 0.75. Now we're going to look at our equation solving skills. I have to get r by itself. So my first job is going to be to multiply. These three terms are being multiplied. These three values. 1400 times r times 0.75. So I'm going to multiply 1400 times 0.75 and simplify so that now I have 1050 r and write in everything that I had before. Really, again, this is only an equation. That's all we're doing. So now I have this. And I am ready to get r by itself. It's a two-step equation from here. So I'm going to subtract 1400, subtract 1400. When I do that, my 1400s cancel, and I'm going to have 21 equal to 1050r. I want to get r by itself, so I divide by 1050, divide by 1050. R, when I divide those, is going to come to 0.02, but we remember we always turn it into a decimal, so now since we're working the other way we have to turn it back into a percentage. This is 2%, and that's a very logical based on our other problems. So 2% annual interest rate, and we're good. Okay, you could always work backwards, substituting it in, see if both sides equal. Let's try example 2. Okay, I changed those to b's. It says find the unknown quantity for an account that earns simple annual interest. So our formula is b equals p plus PRT. Substituting in what we know. Here, they're telling us p is 1,000. R is 2.5%, so that's 0.025. And t is 2 years. We don't know b, that's what we're trying to solve for, and this problem is going to be very nice because everything that we need is all on one side. We don't have to solve for any variables. So what I'm going to do first is simplify 1,000 times 0.025 times 2, and that's going to give me 50. And then my next step is just to add them. So my answer comes to 1,050. And that's my balance. I put $1,000 in at this rate and this time. My balance, my new balance is $1,050. $1,050. So here, working also, you could say, all right, well, if you started with 1,000, your new balance is $1,050. You made $50 interest. Okay, if they were to ask you that, you just find the difference between this and this.